AB5, Prop 22. Employee, independent contractor. Which one's better? Well, I'm going to talk about why they both suck and they both need improvement. And that's what we're talking about right now. Hey everyone, Chris here from Real Rideshare Stories. If you're new to the channel and you're looking for different things within the rideshare industry, whether it's updates to what's going on, news, tips and tricks for passengers and drivers, or what actually happens on real rideshare rides, start now by hitting that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Also, make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. Before we get into today's video, I just want to remind you, we are in the middle of our Always Drive Sober campaign as we continue on and go towards these next few months over the holidays. Remember, always drive sober. If you're going to go out and have a little bit of fun, have a couple of drinks or something, make sure you order a Uber or Lyft. Make sure you call a cab. Have a friend or family member come pick you up, or plan ahead by having a designated driver. So make sure you always drive sober. Also, we are raising donations for the charity MAD. The GoFundMe link is in the description below. And on this Sunday, this coming Sunday, November 1st, around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing and starting a 24-hour live stream. So this will be a final push for our Always Drive Sober campaign. But as we always want to make it part of the channel, it's always a remember to never get behind the wheel after having a drink or a few. So first it was AB5, which codified the law in terms of what type of relationship an individual has with the company that they are going to be working with, representing, whether they're going to be an independent contractor or whether they're going to be an employee. Well, Uber and Lyft said, we want to be exempt from this because we don't think that we fall under the ABC test. And they weren't exempted because the law was trying to be primarily focused at Uber and Lyft and other gig economy platforms. And then you have something that came out from the gig platforms, which is called Prop 22, and they've just surpassed over $200 million to try to persuade the Californian people to vote yes on 22 instead of no, which would pretty much exempt them from AB5 and create a whole new law that rideshare companies would have to operate under. So whether you're for AB5, whether you're against it, whether you think Prop 22 is good and you want a yes on 22, or you think it's bad and you want a no on 22, whether you want to be an employee or remain an independent contractor, these are all conversations that people are having right now, especially in the state of California. But I'm going to share why I think both AB5 and Prop 22 suck, and it's not going to be beneficial for the majority of drivers on either end. So first, we're going to be talking about individually why AB5 sucks. Then we're going to talk about why Prop 22 sucks. And then we're going to kind of snowball them together and say why they both suck and why they both need improvement. And unfortunately, California especially is stuck with either AB5 or Prop 22, meaning either you're going to get yes on 22 and fall under that, or you're going to get a no and have to be employees within 18 days after the election because a judge just ordered a 30-day changeover and reclassification of drivers from independent contractors to employees, which will have passed 12 days from when the election takes place. So let's talk about why AB5 sucks first. So a couple of reasons why AB5 suck is, first, we just don't know what employee relationship with Uber or Lyft would actually look like as drivers. We just don't know. So Uber and Lyft have come out and said different things, either packing up and leaving the state, which, let's face it, probably isn't going to happen. That's an option. Then they also have the option of saying, well, we only have full-time drivers that could be on. And if that's truly the case, then the amount of drivers that are driving right now will not be eligible to drive after the fact. So that means a lot of the drivers who are driving right now won't be able to drive and won't be hired. So that is a true option that could be. And it's going to depend on how Uber and Lyft are going to operate and what they decide. It will come down to them. But freedom and flexibility is probably going to be something that is going to change. So you're probably going to look at scheduled shifts, and when you can work and how you can work and all those things will probably be governed more by Uber and Lyft than anything else. So it's just the way business operates. You're not going to have the freedom and flexibility to go online both platforms at once. You're probably not even going to be able to work for both platforms because they are direct competition. As an employee, they could put something like a contract not to compete, which means you would not be allowed to drive for another platform when you are employed by another platform. So that is something that they could do. Also, I don't know if they really will do full-time employees, because then, yes, they're going to have to provide certain benefits, which could cost the company extra amount of money. But if you limited the amount of hours a driver could work to, say, under 30 hours, you don't have to pay certain benefits like a full-time employee would. So they have a couple of different options here on how they want to go forward. And that's part of the reason why AB5 sucks. Now, yes, this is speculation, and yes, this is trying to figure it out because, again, we just don't have any model of what it's going to look like until it actually would be in place. And until things are actually answered, we're still kind of in the dark about all this stuff. So, yeah, it's kind of uncertain. Some drivers, again, probably will not be drivers. You probably won't be on the platform because of whatever reason. It's going to be up to Uber and Lyft, and that's just, again, a business practice. That's something that Uber and Lyft have full right to. But either way, when it comes down to it, Uber and Lyft would be able to govern exactly how things would operate. So if they wanted to make a driver have to work in certain areas or at certain times or for a certain amount of hours or under a certain amount of hours, or however they wanted to do it, including what rides you can and can't take, meaning any ride that comes to you, you probably are going to have to take, and that's going to be that. There's a lot of different things that is going to be in the control of Uber and Lyft themselves, and that's part of the reason, too, why AB5 would suck. So now let's talk about why Prop 22 sucks. And the first and biggest reason why it sucks is that it was written by these gig platforms, and it was in a way that they did it to benefit them over the driver. Then also, drivers weren't part of the discussion when it came to any concession that they were willing to make. This is just the concessions that Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and these other companies that helped write the bill are willing to give to drivers, when in fact, some of it really isn't that great when it comes down to it. Like the confusing language of these earning ceilings and earning floors, engaged time. And then they have clauses in there like the 7/8 clause, which says 7 out of 8 votes have to be achieved in order to overturn Prop 22 or make changes that go against it. And there's some really weird language within the prop itself. So again, remember, these were designed by the company itself to make it so it's going to benefit the companies. Then another reason why it sucks is because it's pretty much the same old when it comes down to it. There's a lot of changes that happened over the last several years where drivers were doing well. They were making a good amount of money. They were enjoying what was going on. And then it slowly changed and slowly turned and became one-sided, where Uber or Lyft or these other companies said, these are the changes that we're making, get on board or don't drive, don't deliver, don't shop, or whatever it might be. And so it was this one-sided thing instead of having the ability to be open discussion on what's going to be beneficial for both drivers and the companies themselves. And why both AB5 and Prop 22 both suck together is they didn't have the drivers come forward for either of them and talk about what would be beneficial for the majority of drivers. They didn't take into account what the majority of drivers also want. So if you look at many polls are saying drivers want to remain independent contractors. They want to be able to have the freedom and luxury to be able to go on and off when they want. They want to be able to do certain things that an employee relationship would probably impede on, that they don't want to be employees. And this is what most polls, what most of you have said when it came down to it. So now this is why I think both of them aren't good. One is just pretty much a Band-Aid over a hemorrhage, saying, well, we're just going to put everybody as employees because we're going to make this 3-part test. And being an employee will give you what you need, when in fact, that's not really the truth of the matter. And again, Uber and Lyft will be able to exert more control over its driving force than it does now. And that could look like less drivers. That could look like only a certain amount of hours or whatnot. That could look like you only working for one platform, you having to accept all rides. Again, we don't really know what it's going to look like, but if you look at other businesses and being a business person or being a business mind, that could be a very real possibility. Then on the other side, you have Prop 22, which is written by these companies, which in fact aren't really the best either, because it's in favor of the companies where they're giving up these things that sound like it's going to be really good, but in actuality, it really isn't going to make too much of a difference for them. So it's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And unfortunately, that's where drivers are going to fall. So you have to choose between the better of two crappy options, and both of them are not great. There could be something that would be much better that could be put forward where drivers were working on it, and it would both appease legislation and also the companies. And there could be a win-win-win if everybody sat down at the table and everybody said, you know what, this will work going forward because it's going to protect drivers, it's going to protect the legislation side of things, and it's going to protect Uber and Lyft and these other companies. So there is a real possibility, but unfortunately, again, it's between a rock and a hard place and two crappy options. One is a little bit better than the other, but not by much. And unfortunately, we shouldn't have to choose between two crappy options. We should be able to choose between something that's going to be really good for all parties involved. And that means we have to sit down and actually talk it out between everybody and really make a difference where everybody's going to be happy. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Do you really like AB5? Do you really want to be an employee? Do you really like Prop 22? Do you want to remain as is? Do you like them? Do you think they both suck? Comment below, let me know. With that being said, that's the end of the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. And as always, never drink and drive. Always tip your drivers, your delivery drivers, and your shoppers. And we'll see you next time.